In other head-spinning news, and this is actually a jab against Republicans, folks. So look, our logic here is linear. If we're gonna hound the Democrats and progressive left for doing something, if a Republican does the exact same thing or does something stupid, we're gonna hound them too, folks. You have a bill requiring all health insurance companies in Nevada, including Medicaid, to cover quote medically necessary surgeries related to gender dysphoria for both adults and children, has now been signed by a Republican governor, Joe Lombardo. What an idiot. This is wild. This is wild. So now not only do you have Democrats going after mutilating children, now you have Republicans doing the exact same thing. So as a country here, what are we doing? It's one thing if it's an adult. It's one thing if it's an adult. You have a child that can't make certain decisions. There's a whole, on the Daily Mail, there's a whole story right now of a girl or a man, can't remember, I think it was a girl, age 13, had gender transition surgery, and now is pissed because with her gender dysphoria, nobody told her that, oh, well, you can't, it's not really like you can't go back on it. You can't basically mend the mistake that you made when you were 13 now that you're 18. You can't put back on your breasts. You can't create you can't fix that wound that's down there. I'm trying to be correct here on YouTube because YouTube is serious about banning people and censoring people that are using certain words. The text will highlight on the back end and the captions and they'll trigger some sort of thing on us. So with this, you have Republicans and Democrats now going after children. Isn't that just lovely? I'm a registered Republican, folks. I'm a registered Republican. Probably always will be. Not if this continues, folks. We might need to start a new party here. On Monday, Lombardo signed SB 163, which requires coverage for the medically necessary treatment of conditions relating to gender dysphoria and gender incongruence, which I've never heard of gender incongruence. I'm going to have to look that one up here on the end of the show. If somebody wants to actually post in the comment section for everybody else what gender incongruence is, let us know in the comment section below. The bill has already passed the state assembly and Senate, both controlled by Democrats along party lines. Some leftists are celebrating Lombardo's decision to sign the bill. That's not a shocker. The left love going after children. And I'm sorry, so do the Democrats. If you want to look at an old school Democrat that doesn't really jive with all this stuff, look at the Kennedys. Look at even Kennedy now. So Kennedy, back in the 60s, I think it was, with John and Robert. And now you have another Kennedy. If you look at what they go with, they're more like centrist. They're like old school Democrats. Nowadays, the Democrats are all for this. And the reason why I say the Democrats are for this is because literally Joe Biden, who's the face of the Democrat Party, is all for this stuff, which he's come out on like public service announcements. Some leftists, again, are celebrating this whole decision at a time when states across the country are passing draconian laws to restrict trans and non-binary people's rights to exist. Nevada is going to do the opposite. This comes from a Democrat in Las Vegas. That's insane, folks. That's insane. Let me read that to you again. At a time when states across the country are passing draconian laws to restrict trans and non-binary people's rights to exist. So if you don't get a surgery, all of a sudden your right doesn't exist. This is what these people believe, man. It's so wild. It is so wild. Again, nobody cares if you're an adult. Let's be clear. No, I should say nobody, but you understand what I mean by that. Many people don't care if you're an adult and you want to, I don't agree with it, but it's your life. If you have gender dysphoria and you want to go get a surgery, you're an adult, go do what you want. I don't think people should get plastic surgery either, but they can still go do it. I'm not going to tell you not to. I can't emphasize that I don't think you should, but the issue is surrounding going after children. They're too young to make that decision. They're too young to freaking pick out their own dinner. They're eating paste in the classroom. They can't solve mathematical equations. That's not even that hard. And you're going to tell me they could sit there and make a life-altering decision? Why don't we just start letting children drive? Why don't we let children drive vehicles? Why not? At I don't know, third grade level. Why don't you let a third grade drive a car? Oh, that's too risky? Or that might injure somebody else? Yeah, maybe. But they're able to change their sex and have that type of hold on their life decisions. Why not drive a car? Why not be able to order beer, smoke a pack of cigarettes, sign up for the military? I don't know. Get a job at a third grade level. Why not? I mean, it sounds ludicrous when I say these things. Of course, I'm being a little bit facetious, but you understand kind of the generalized point of what I'm making. Check this out. So, home can mean Nevada for people of all genders as a direct result of the hard work of transgender, and civil rights organizers. If you can just somebody answer this to me, and this is actually probably a more realistic viewpoint is I'm clearly white and pale, right? Why can't I identify as a black person? The reason why I say that, or should I say African American, why can't I sit there and shift in terms of race? That's probably more of a social construct than actual sex is. I mean, you look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is just as white as I am, but he's African American. So, or just again, a social construct, just kind of across the board. It's probably more in line on a philosophical level and as well as a linear logic in terms of transitioning your race rather than your sex. There's probably more of an argument for that than what we're even seeing here. But again, that's for a whole different argument. Nevada has for a very long time been a live and let live type of state, according to Brooke Maloff of Transgender Allies Group, which in 2021 also worked for the Department of Health and Human Services. Wasn't it? There's a whole group here that we uncovered from Matt Walsh that was basically signing letters of gender dysphoria to allow and kind of open up the doorway for insurance companies to pay for this medically necessary gender transition. Like if you didn't have gender dysphoria in there, then you weren't going to get it covered. And so what Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire uncovered was these people with these transgender groups, even though the person is saying they don't have gender dysphoria, we're still putting it in there anyways, so that insurance will cover this stuff. So if their insurance is covering something, covering a certain transition surgery, like literally lopping off the guy's testicles that they don't even need, guess whose insurance goes up as well? Yours and I. This is where all this is going. It's wild. And I'm glad to see that this governor has not been hijacked by the divisiveness that has been seen by other states. So because you don't go along with having a child being mutilated, rather than just waiting until they're 18 to make their own decision, now you're stopping trans people from existing. It's so wild. It's so wild. Indeed, in signing the bill, Lombardo, who just assumed office in January, diverged considerably from many Republican governors who have lately voted to ban or at least severely restrict such producers for minors in their respective states. Nevada RNC committeewoman, who made an unsuccessful bid for attorney general last year, slammed Lombardo in a series of tweets. Quote, while other states protect children from genital mutilation, Nevada just served them right up. Oh, yeah. Again, it's not about the adults, it's about the children, but the left don't understand that. And they will spin and manipulate it, just like we saw in the first segment with WAPO and the Bud Light story. They will spin it and manipulate it. You actually saw Karine Jean-Pierre. We didn't cover it last week. Karine Jean-Pierre was asked a question about this whole thing. And she said, and it goes, I wish we had it. She sat there and told the guy that he was being dangerous for even bringing this up. Is that dangerous? Cutting off a child's genitals and castrating them for life, to the point where sometimes they won't even be able to have children ever. And if they change their mind later on, which is probably what they end up doing about 80-90% of the time, they just end up being gay or lesbian, they can't reverse that. So they just push this upon people, and by people I mean minors, rather than just waiting until they're an adult. They can make that judgment when they're adult. I don't understand it. And this whole idea of like, well, if we don't allow children to mutilate themselves, or we're allowing them to make the decision to mutilate themselves, then all of a sudden they don't exist anymore. I mean, that's the topic that we've seen time and time again from the left, and they will continue to push it, because if you don't let a child mutilate themselves, they're not able to exist and live. And one of the arguments too with parents, it's kind of a disgusting one, is that what these doctors, or these quote unquote doctors, and for those that aren't audio listening with air quotes, is they're saying, oh, if you don't give your kid the surgery, they're going to kill themselves. They're going to commit suicide. So either they have the surgery or they're going to die. That's kind of the two dilemmas. I mean, who makes that kind of dilemma? Wild. I know I keep saying that, but folks, we're living in a time where satire is no longer satire. Comedy is truth. There's always been a truth to comedy, but now it's just happening. I'm not saying this is comedic by any means. This is some dark stuff. You're going to look back on history on this and go, you're telling me a civilized country like the United States was sitting there mutilating children and conducting mass experiments on children like we are now with trans people? A lot of these people that are trans as well, that are also getting castrated, are autistic. So you're literally... There's so much here. I got to stick to the article. Lombardo also recently signed another bill which offers additional mental health care to Nevada prisoners who consider themselves transgender or gender non-conforming. However, he vetoed a bill which would have protected medical professionals who provide gender-related treatment from losing their license. In his veto message, Lombardo claimed the measure would have prevented his office from ensuring that all gender-affirming care related to minors comports with state law. I mean, He needs to be ousted, you guys. That's where you rise up with your vote. You get out there from the state of Nevada and you oust this guy. He doesn't need to be governor. He might have a Republican title, but he's a rhino. Okay, he's a Democrat. He's a progressive leftist. This is one of the main pillars of the Democrat Party now, is pushing the stuff about going after children, whether it's the grocery store, whether it's through media, whether it's through news, whether it's through movies, whether it's articles, whether it's in the school system. They're targeting your children left and right. And at some point, you got to rise up and say enough's enough. Just leave them alone. You know what I mean? Allow the parents. If the parents want to push that whole thing, that's what the parents are there for. You know, teachers aren't there to push this whole thing. You know, politicians shouldn't be there pushing this whole. It's up to the parents who sit there and mold their child. And what I also find interesting, and let me know if you agree with this in the comment section below or the live chat. Did anybody else find it interesting that it's usually leftist, progressive, or Democrat parents that are for this whole trans stuff, and sometimes even trans themselves or gay themselves or part of the LGBTQ community, that their kids end up being part of the LGBTQ plus community as well? Like, it goes hand in hand, right? You usually see they have like colorful hair, or they're kind of like, you know, short haircut or whatever it is. And you could, I mean, they have a look, right? In the same way that I have a look here, right? American flag, beard, right? I look like a conservative Republican, you can like smell it on me. But I mean, they have a look themselves, and it's like, why is it always their children? Very rarely. I mean, you'll have it where it's like a normal family will have like a trans or gay or lesbian child or whatever it may be. But it's generally, you always see it. So it makes you wonder, if they're struggling with gender identity and they're having identity issues, who's kind of enabling that gender identity and that confusion in their mind? Oh yeah, of course you can get it from media, but it also makes you wonder, is it coming from the parents as well? Let me know in the comment section below. And our last news story here, we have Elon Musk issues simple stinging challenge to President Joe Biden. Folks, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And also head over to baldbrad.com, pick yourself up a mug here, have a cup of coffee with us, a cup of Joe. Look, I understand things are a little bit pricey, folks. Look, we're dealing with Biden inflation, but also it goes all back into the show. You are supporting an American patriot. At least you know where your money's going, and somebody that supports your values here of supporting America, not trying to drive it right into the ground. Baldbrad.com, links in the description below. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.